Listening Part 1 Problem Solving Tips and Strategies. How to listen effectively. Listen in full sentence mode, not vocabulary mode. This will help you understand ideas more than specific words. Avoid focusing too much on vocabulary. Vocabulary is useful and important, but only for some specific questions. Listen and repeat ideas in your mind. This will help you absorb information and keep it clearly. You can take notes while you listen. You will be given a notepad, so this can help you keep information more. You can write notes in your language. The notes will not be graded. Make sure writing doesn't interfere with listening. Only write some words or key ideas. Put yourself in the situation, imagining the context visually, and putting yourself in the situation can really improve your understanding of the context. What would you do if you were in the situation and had this problem? This can help you answer better. What information to focus on? Understand the problem or situation. This will help you understand the context more. Identify who the speakers are. What is their role? Who has the problem or situation? Identify the kind of problem or situation it is. Is it a store, between friends, at work? Focus on tense, past, present, and future actions. Understand the possible solutions, advice, and suggestions. It is important to understand what solutions to the problem are offered. This can be direct information, dates, times, things, and actions, or can be indirect information, advice, suggestions, possibilities, necessities, wishes, needs, and future actions. Focus on ideas more than vocabulary. This will help you understand the questions and answers clearer. Ideas are related to the problem and solutions. Specific words will only confuse the answers. Vocabulary association is important. Try to connect words as you listen. Associate them. This will help you retain ideas better. Okay, so here's an example of listening part 1, listening to problem solving from the CELPIP website. Just to clarify a few things from our guide. So first, while we listen, we should try to repeat.
Hello, Mr. Adler. You asked me to come over?
Yes, thanks. Please come in.
What seems to be the problem?
So in here, I should be repeating the woman is going to Mr. Adler.
Well, I know it's sunny outside, but inside it's so cold. I have both heaters turned on, but I'm still freezing. The house is small, and I thought it would be easy to heat, but I see now that the ceilings are high. I turned the ceiling fan on to push the hot air down, but it's pulling the hot air up. I can't figure out how to make it change direction.
You can't.
In this case, I should just be keeping in my mind that the man says the house is very cold. That's the most important part. Again, you can also write this. You will have a notepad so you can write that. So, again, that's the most important part that we should keep in our mind. He's having a problem with the heat.
Can't. The fan is only for the summer, but this cold weather is very unusual. Normally, it's warmer than this.
Do you know how long it will last?
They say only for a few days. Unfortunately, they're calling for rain after that. But I can have some firewood delivered if you'd like.
Um,
So, from what the woman said, I would keep in my mind that she mentioned the weather is cold, or it's normally not cold. Something about the weather being cold this time.
could you show me how to use the wood stove first?
Of course.
Okay then. Yes, I'd like some firewood delivered.
All right, but it probably won't get here until tomorrow. In the meantime, I'll bring over another heater for you.
So, we should keep in our mind here about wood, firewood being delivered. Okay. So, um, responding the questions. Avoid selecting answers only because of words you heard. Answers usually contain words from all the dialogue. In most cases, answers are made to confuse ideas with vocabulary. Vocabulary association important here. If we listen to words together or associate them, we can avoid this error. Focus on the idea of the answer more than its words. Understand what each answer is suggesting. This is very important for longer answers and for questions about suggestions and advice. This is very important for questions which are indirect. It wasn't clearly stated in the dialogue, so we have to imagine what the answer could be. Eliminate wrong answers. Finding which answers are wrong is as important as finding the answer. Usually, two answers are very wrong because they do not connect well. For the remaining answers, look closely at what is different between the answers to better select the correct one. Listening to the questions. Repeat the question to better understand it. Focus on who the question is related to. Usually, the speakers are a man and a woman. Make sure to understand who the questions were about, the man or the woman. Focus on the specific part the questions are asking. Make sure to understand the connection between the question and dialogue. The questions are usually related to the problem or situation, specific information, dates, times, costs, or things, reasons for the problem or situation. Why did it happen? Solutions, suggestions, advice to the problem or situation. What does one of the speakers suggest? Actions taken to solve the problem. What does the speaker do? What will the person do? Selecting the answers. Focus on grammar. Often answers are confused by providing similar ideas but not the correct grammar tense. For example, present, past, future, and present perfect. Modals can confuse even more. Could, may, might, should, would, have to, and need to, and must suggest different ideas. Focus on opposite ideas. Often answers are confused by providing similar ideas to the dialogue, but for opposite people or opposite ideas. Focus on vocabulary association. Often answers are confused by providing similar words to the listening, but don't connect to the question or have different meanings. Answers can have synonyms to the listening, so think of similar words. Focus on meaning, specifically for indirect answers. Some answers require understanding of the complete context of the conversation more than specific information. So we should understand what the speakers are suggesting. Sometimes sentences can mean more than the words we hear. For example, expressions, idioms, and slang. So now we will get to the questions. Keep in mind that listening part one has 3 sections. We just listened to the first section, only 1 minute and 11 seconds. It could be shorter or a little bit longer. Usually it's 1 minute to 1 minute and a half. So now we will hear 2 or 3 questions. Keep in mind that this play bar will not be there, and also the next button will not be there either. Okay? Just for this example and for the practice that you have online, you can hit next.
Question 1.
What is the man's main complaint?
So we should repeat that. What is the man's main complaint? Repeating the question will help you understand it better. You do have time here in the corner. So I'm just letting you know, yeah, it's about 25 seconds per question. So just focusing on the answers here. We heard all this information. Talked about the house, we heard about cold, we heard about firewood, we did hear about wet, we heard the heaters, We heard turn on with the ceiling fan and spin. We heard lots of this information we heard. But actually, was it that the house is too cold? So it's not just about the house and not about cold. It's the full information. The house is too cold. I remember firewood, but was it firewood? The firewood is too wet. I remember heaters. Was it the heaters won't turn on? And I remember hearing ceiling fan. The ceiling fan won't spin. So, this is a perfect example of what we mean by vocabulary association. We heard the words, we heard house, cold, firewood, but did we associate those words with another part? Did we associate firewood with wet? So, what I'm trying to tell you is when we listen, we need to use vocabulary association. We shouldn't listen to individual words. Try to listen for word combinations. This will help you understand the answers better. Okay, let's look at one more question to see what it asks.
Question 2.
Which word best describes the woman?
Which word best describes the woman? Okay, very good question. So I repeat it. So you see, these three selections here, they were not said. This is an indirect question. She didn't say anything about confused, helpful, angry, or funny. These words were not mentioned. But we have to assume or think from what we heard. We have to choose what we think is suggested. How was she acting in the conversation? Was she acting confused, helpful, angry, or funny? So, this is also that was mentioned, something which was mentioned in our guide. We need to keep in mind that some of the questions are not direct, they are indirect, and we have to imagine or think how the woman was acting. Let's look at the next question. This here also won't appear on the exam, it's just for this example.
Question 3.
What is the weather normally like?
What is the weather normally like? Now, I remember hearing, or I remember that she was talking about how the weather was. And this is more of a direct question. So again, we look at the answers. They mentioned most of these, okay? So we needed to link the word weather with normally. And again, vocabulary association can help us get these answers more often, okay? And also here, this is question 3 of 8. So in part 1, there are 3 sections to listen. So right now it'll tell us here we're going to the second section of the conversation. And then we are going to hear some more questions. And then we're going to get to the third section of the conversation. and some more questions. You can see this one here is only 34 seconds, so it's shorter. And the last part will be about the same. That is the end of listening part 1, problem solving, tips and strategies.